Hello, welcome to the Birmingham Property News Show. My name's Ewan Rankin. I'm a photographer here in Birmingham, and I know very little about Birmingham property news, but I'm getting better. Every week I learn a bit more from the venerable two who are joining me. Krish Patel from Barrows and Forrester, and the other half of the Barrows and Forrester bit, James Forrester, who's here in the studio with me. They currently sponsor the show, but if you would like to sponsor this podcast, then get in touch with James and he'll let you, and you can come and song and dance about all of the stuff that you do in the Birmingham property market and join in the stories as well. First off, Krish, how the devil are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Busy
Excellent,
week so
pal.
far, which is good. How about yourself?
Yeah, all right. And you came to my networking group this morning.
I did. Thoroughly enjoyed it, to be honest with you. It was early start, but yeah, it was really good and really insightful.
They're a good bunch, aren't they?
They are very friendly and very welcoming as well, which is good to see, and that's what you want when you go to these sort of networking events. That everyone welcomes you in, happy to have a chat with you as well, and have a sit down and coffee, which was good to see. Yeah, definitely.
And in the studio, James, as normal. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, good.
I love the plug-in for B&I here. St Paul's. Obviously, we also have B&I TGI on a Friday afternoon. For those who don't want to get up at a ridiculous hour in the morning, you're more than happy to come and join my chapter and network as well.
Yeah, no, I got to say that you get a bit of a mixed response with B&I. There's sometimes you get it, and it's the people are like, it's a bit of a Marmite response. The people think, my wife included, who thinks it's a cult, but and she's convinced that I've been sapped into it.
What, you mean the Green Club cult?
No, that's yet another level of cult. It's not helping the cult status thing. That's all. So,
but it's all good. It's all good.
Is.
What we're discussing tonight, then, boys?
Right. So we're going to kick off. Krish is going to start us off, and this is a bit of a contentious one as well. It's Albury Outlet Village plans to take a step forward. Tell us more, Krish.
Yeah, so it's a multi-million-pound leisure and outlet shopping development, which is going to be in Albury, and the plans have been moving ahead, which is great, but it hasn't been received that well by a lot of local people. Apparently protesters, they've actually picketed the Samwell Council House, and they've held a mock funeral to actually highlight, their opposition.
What died? Is it the environment that died? Is it the local residents that died, or?
No idea. I think what they're basically saying is that it's going to cause too much of a mayhem, being so close to the M5 junction, junction 2. So they weren't really happy. But I think it's fantastic. It could create, I think it's around 2,000 new jobs, which would be great for the area. It's going to be, cinema, hotel, gym, as well. Some couple of 3G pitches as well, football pitches, for all year use, which is great. And you don't really have anything in the Albury area for that. I mean, you either go into the city centre or maybe go to Merry Hill or even West Brom. But I think it's great for Albury to have its own, sort of independent leisure and sort of shopping development itself.
Yeah, no. See, one of the things that bothers me about this is it trying to be like a Merry Hill come Meadow Hall type thing for Sheffield? And if you look at those two, they're not particularly in great repair now, 20 years on.
No. I mean, I agree, but I think if you look at the one in West Bromwich, the New Square, I mean, I visit there quite a bit because it's not too far. It's about a 10-minute drive for me, and that's been perceived really well. Obviously, you get your major shops which are doing really well. Some of the smaller ones probably not so, but you've got the big Primark, the big Tesco, you've got cinema, your Nando's and stuff like that, and it's always pretty, especially on the weekend. It's really busy, so hopefully it can be the same for Albury as well.
James, this is on your doorstep. Is this
certainly is
not on my doorstep, Gov, or is this bring it on, man? I'm happy.
Bring it on, absolutely bring it on. It's great for the area. So the funeral procession protesters. There's a bit of a story to this, which probably is not reported as well. But the people who are doing it just happen to want the land themselves to build a speedway track.
Oh, because speedway doesn't pollute.
No. So the majority of, not all the protesters, but more of the leaders of the protesters, shall we say, the front runners, they want a speedway track built on this. And they're not even from the area either. So stay away. We want we want the outlet mall to be built. Look, they're absolutely great. Them fields have been. I've been in this area now for nearly coming up to 10 years now. There's hardly anyone on the fields. They're not used hardly as much anymore. There used to obviously be a lot of the playing fields for the schools, football teams, etc. as well. They're not used as much anymore. So I think it's great that Sandwell Council have got together, obviously with the investment group, to get something built in an area, and rather than just chuck a load more houses on there, which could have been an easy option. Don't get me wrong here. They've looked at it and they've looked for something to be quite sustainable for years to come. And having the outlet malls is great. Cannock have got it going at the moment, and you can't buy or sell properties around the area quick enough because of it.
We always say this every week, what's the influence on your market, Chris and James, in terms of what this does for house prices in the area? But I wouldn't have thought this is going to be an instant win, is it? This is something that could grow over time, but no one's going to suddenly go, I've got to move here just because they've built this huge property.
No, of course. I think it helps. Like you said, no one's going to automatically say just because they're building, this shopping development in Albury that they're going to move there. But what it does do, it just creates that community feel and, that environment where, they don't have to travel into the city centre or all the way to Merry Hill or West Bromwich. They've got that there where they can have their, their shopping, the cinema. They can go to if there's going to be the hotel there, the gym. It just brings it all together, and I think it's not going to be one of those where people move there just because of that, but it will help certainly people who are already living in the area or people looking to move into the area to say, okay, if this is going to be built as well, that's going to be great for us to move here because things are easily accessible, which I think would be a key point for them.
Is the plans for this, James, that improve infrastructure in the local area as well? Because, the worst thing you can do is build this thing and still have some piddly little road as access to it when you've got hundreds of people streaming in at 7 p.m. on night for a 7:15 showing of Endgame, the Marvel stuff or something like that. It would really be a total a mess.
Yeah, great question. Well, actually, that's another part of it because the island itself is already going through the plans to have the roundabout, obviously, Birchley Island completely transformed to be one. I think the plans that are going through that's been the most, the model that they want is the one like St Andrews. So where they have the road going through the centre of the roundabout. So obviously, we've got to be careful because there's a great bit of electricity station in the middle of it all. But they've managed to get around it to to make sure that can be done because look, it is going to bring a lot of traffic in. I think they're saying about 2,000 jobs. Even if you half that and there was 1,000 jobs, created, I think that's just it just shows something great for the area. And I'm really looking forward to it. To be honest, you've got Dunelm, Halford's there. That was ran down until recently. Dunelm have just gone through a massive refurbishment. And have really made the place look, if you want to say, sexy. So I think it's a little bit sexy-ish. And then all of a sudden now we're just getting a little bit more, and it's bringing the Black Country, to Birmingham, like I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I had to go and pick my daughter up from the cinema, and I was like, right, which one's she at? Because there's an abundance of them here, and it was like, well, the one at Broadway by Five Ways, it's a nightmare to park, and just to do a pickup, you can't really stop anywhere. I've got to go in the underground. Luckily, working in the city centre and travelling out's not too bad, but then I'm caught in the traffic. Going home. If I was going there as well, I'd be caught in the traffic. And for anyone who's in that Albury area, the difference is you've either, like Christian's just said, you're either off to Merry Hill, if you want the shops or cinema as well. You can go to the Reel at Quinton, that only has a couple of things on. Or you're heading up to Wednesbury or to Walsall. There's actually nothing around the area apart going into Birmingham city centre. So I think it's great. I think for Sandwell it's great. I think for everyone in the B68 postcode definitely is going to see benefit. It's not going to happen immediately, but it's just one of them that's just going to entice people again. And it's just an extra factor of why this is going to be a happening place to live. And I've said it for a few times now. This is the area to watch for property growth.
Yeah, this area is not well renowned for its traffic flow. It has to be said, particularly at peak times.
What traffic?
It's well known for its traffic, but not its traffic flow.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't flow. I can assure. Look, we had, to give you a bit of an idea, we have Asda just up the road from where this is going to go. Great. Then we had Aldi go directly across from Aldi, from Asda, the direct competition. On a Sunday at 2:00, it'll probably take you an average of 1 hour to get out of Aldi car park, in that area. This area is ripe for growth. It's prime for growth. And I think, as well as having the shops, and look, if they come out like the images that we're starting to see, I'm liking the pop-up. I'm liking the independent feel as well of the sort of the traders, which I think will be fantastic. But, having the leisure facilities as well, they're not just taking the fields away and going, well, that's it. We're going to have, all year round 3G pitches, rather than, going, well, there's the fields at the moment, but you can't use them from October through to March or April.
I know he's the boss, Krish, but is this a thumbs up or a thumbs down from you?
Oh yeah, it's a definite thumbs up. I've seen how it's transformed sort of West Bromwich with the installation of New Square, the centre, and it's been fantastic. It's relatively easy for me to get to, so for people around that area, like James said, the B68 postcode, I think it's a definite thumbs up from myself.
Woohoo!
Well, there's been a tradition of lack of investment in the northwest of Birmingham, so it is good that there's something happening over there, and it's good that it's driving sort of people to think about perhaps moving up to that neck of the woods, because then your more infrastructure will follow as a result. My only concern with this area is the fact that it is such a logjam at peak periods.
It is, and it's a family destination area, so the majority of people will be travelling by cars as well. But I think I do understand, a couple of the comments that are being made, obviously, about the traffic issues, because, naturally, that's one of mine that, if this outlet mall really takes off and the infrastructure around Berkshire Island's not taken care of, it's going to have a massive effect, on the area just to get onto the M5. But the good thing is, look, the roundabout plans were put out, it was a couple of years ago, I think I got the leaflet in the door, and they're moving ahead with that as well. It's going to be a massive change to, and a long overdue for that, but I think it's great it's great for the area. It just shows the West Midlands is on track. It's not always about the city centre, it's also about the surrounding areas, which I think is an absolute bonus.
Excellent. Well, that leads on nicely to our next story, because in Sandwell and Wolverhampton and Dudley, there are 1,500 new homes being built in the next couple of years. A £350 million investment, James, you reckon?
Yeah, it's all happening at once now, isn't it? It's interesting because, most of this week, well, I can tell you now, this morning I was with somebody and instantly, Brexit comes up in conversation straight away. Slow down, we're going to wait, we're going to see. Things are happening and things are moving now. And it's great. I think it's just great for the area. It's great to see these great infrastructure projects coming out as well now. I'm quite excited about it, especially if we get to sell them.
They're talking about that the overall target for this is 215,000 additional homes by 2031.
Yeah, it's a huge project.
That's enormous.
Well, don't forget there's a massive housing shortage, completely. And don't forget this is a combined, it's a combined investment. Get my words out right here. So they're all looking to buy up different plots in the areas as well, which is great. But it's a massive West Midlands housing deal. I think it's worth 350 million in total, if I'm right.
Where's the land for that? Because that's an awful lot of land, and those areas that are listed there, Wolverhampton, Dudley, and Sandwell, are actually fairly compressed. Are they going to clear old stuff, or is it going to be new greenbelt? Well,
it's going to be brownfield sites. There's loads. In the area that are just sitting there. As I say, I've been in this area now 10 years. I speak to people who've been in that for 50 years all their life, and they'll say sites have never changed, and they're just now turning to be a bit of a blot on the landscape. There's no heritage, to these brownfield sites either, so there's no real reason in keeping them the way they are. The challenge is just to get them, and getting the infrastructure to get the land ready for release, because it's great seeing the buildings go up. But don't forget, that's probably the quickest part of it. The hard work is before you even see a brick being laid or steel going into the ground. It's all the engineering and all the reports that are coming out of that as well. I'm quite excited about it. And I think some of these locations are quite good. It'll be interesting to see how much is going to go towards social housing, how much is affordable housing as well, and also what's going to go. Is there any going to be sold to private developers, and then they can take control of their own projects as well. So there's obviously, it's still early days, but again, exciting news, and this is what it's all about.
Chris, this mean anything for Barrows and Forrester, or is it going to be all sold by the housing developers themselves, do you think?
Well, it'd be great if we could sell them.
Well,
but
that's you through to retirement, isn't it? 2031 and 215,000 homes.
I know. So it's a long way away, but I think it's much needed, especially like James mentioned there. There's such a housing shortage at the moment, and all this talk about Brexit and the uncertainty. Things are happening, but yeah, it's definitely needed. People want new homes. People want to buy. Altogether. So it's fantastic for those areas. They're definitely needed. More houses are needed in these areas, especially. So it just every little bit helps. So I think it's going to be great. Obviously, if they can get it done and play it forward, and I think it's going to deliver around 1,575 homes, and another 1,000 could be delivered altogether. Again, that's fantastic for those areas.
Okay, so the next big question is how many of these homes are going to be affordable? How many of them are going to be out beyond people's reach? And is there going to be almost like here's all these houses coming in, but 3/4 of the people won't be able to afford them?
As well, that's the question. It's early days at the moment, so obviously it's great having the headline news. But it's going to be good just to sort of see what we come out of it. Don't forget the word affordable, and I do say that with inverted commas, can mean anything. And I have seen this in other city locations in the UK where money's been given for. I won't mention the city, but money's been given from the local housing fund for affordable housing, and the majority was sold to overseas investors.
Wow, that's not good. Well,
obviously the argument back is they were renting it back to local people, so effectively it was affordable.
Well, now there is because the old council house idea has gone, hasn't it? There are no council houses anymore in the truest sense. So there's a scheme whereby you can lease back to the people, but they're talking about an 80% margin on retail threshold, aren't they?
They are. Look, I think there's a growing trend at the moment. Is it the case of you just, you throw, I won't say the word, but you throw something at the wall and it'll see if it sticks? And it can be like that, where it's great, more homes. The problem you have is a couple of things here. One, you'll have certain people who don't want any homes to be built in their area, especially new homes, because they don't want the inconvenience, of the lorries coming in, the noise, etc., etc., etc. But we need to build. It's as simple as that. So, you've got the argument there. At the same point, how affordable will these be, and what will the lending be? Because don't forget, most people will need a mortgage to buy the properties as well, and it does come down to what the rates are going to be, and also how much they can borrow. Again, there's still the big argument. It's great having 1,500 new homes, but if the only way you can buy them is by having a 25-30% deposit, well, to be honest, that's not going to be affordable to most people.
No. Chris, what's kind of affordable housing as far as the estate agency market is concerned? Because you tend to be buying and selling stuff, or selling on stuff that's dictated to you by the current holders, isn't it? Do you do lets much?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we do lettings as well, in different areas. But again, like you mentioned, you touched on it. It's obviously the current holders who sort of, we can give a valuation on what's selling in the area, but ultimately it's down to the actual owner on how much they want to sell their property for. Affordable. It's like how long's a piece of string. It depends on people's circumstances and people's budget. So that can vary, but like James mentioned there, if you're asking for 30 or 20 or 30% deposit, how much of that is affordable for people? We are seeing obviously a lot of these the 5% mortgages to make things more affordable for first time buyers, etc., which makes it easily accessible to get into the property market. But yeah, it all depends on people's budgets, and that would vary from person to person.
Yeah, it's It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this, because it is a long way down the line yet, and there's an awful lot of infrastructure issues. We were debating whether to cover the HS2 thing on dispatches tonight.
Oh yes,
and that might come next week after we've had a bit more fallout. But things like that, whether those projects go ahead or not, is a huge influence on your property values, isn't it?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's like anything, isn't it? The infrastructure has to come along. With big projects like these, and it can't, because it's also the little things like schooling. Are the schools going to be able to cope? Primary schools, high schools. There's huge waiting lists, already.
Which is the most nonsensical thing I've ever heard in my entire life, because you get 5 years warning that the kids are coming.
Well, you do and you don't. The thing is, obviously, between the intake of primary school and high school is very different, isn't it? In my personal opinion. And don't forget, I have 2 kids, so I've been through this, is that your primary school is setting your kids up, ready for the big world. But your high school is really important, because that's where the nitty gritty, the real hard work starts. They're learning all about the world, what it's going to intake, and, set them up for the future. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. Now, if you don't have the high schools in the area, or the high school places, I should say, and also if you've got a great performing, outstanding high school or a good high school, and then you've got a requires improvement high school, majority of parents are going to be saying, I want my kids to be going to my first choice, which is the outstanding one or the good one, over the required improvement. Well, that school will only be able to take in so many places in its first term, which typically, high school to high school will be around about the 250 figure mark. That's not a lot.
No.
So if you think 1,500 homes, even if you half that, 750, how many of them do you think will have teenagers?
I don't know what the ratio is. It's probably about 10%.
Well, it's a lot, isn't it? Already on an area that, the whole country's suffering from it at the moment. So as long as the infrastructure's coming in, of course, the way schools get funded is very different from the councils, government, obviously, and how they provide the money. So there needs to be a lot of linked up, or get the devolution, I think I pronounced that right, across, and allow the local areas, like your Andy Street, who's very West Midlands, and allow the spending to be controlled in the right areas, have the infrastructure, not just schools, but the road networks, making sure that, the retail units, for example, are there for, don't forget, there'll be elderly people as well moving in, we need doctor surgeries that can cope as well, and we need the pharmacies, etc. And you've just got to have that, and it's not being watered down.
Excellent. Yes, loads to talk about with that one. But if you're going to get a new property, you're going to need a mortgage, definitely. And Tess is here. She's got her weekly advice on all the stuff that you can expect in the new mortgage market. And there's a bit of breaking news.
How are you, Ewan? I hope you're both well. Big news in the mortgage market this week is the West Brom Building Society have cut their rates. So you can get a 3-year fixed term at 2.64%. That's up to 90% loan to value. Free valuations, free booking fees, and you get a massive £1,000 cash back with that deal. They're also bringing out a 5-year deal, which is at 3.54%. That's up to 95% loan to value. Again, you get free valuations, now booking fees. But that deal, you get £1,500 cash back. So winners all round. I hope you both well. I'll speak to you next week.
Thanks, Tess. So great deals there at the West Brom. If you want to go out and see what they've got, get in touch with Tess at the Mortgage Advice Bureau, and she'll help you get sorted. Right then, boys. Frivolous story.
We're going off serious now, are we?
Ewan's moronic unserious story of the week, as always. I didn't know. There was a bit of me. I kind of picked this because I was thinking I could make fun of it, but actually I don't want to make fun of it, because actually I think it could be really brilliant. There is a carnival coming to Birmingham, chaps. Ooh. There is going to be a carnival in Digbeth. It's going to be massive. There's going to be loads happening. There's some people who I'm too old to know the name of who are going to be on the bill. And it looks absolutely brilliant. Confirmed to bring the Rio vibes to the Digbeth area. Shy FX featuring Dynamite MC, Toddler T, General Levy, 20 years of incredible UK Apache, and LFM and Marley. The pictures look great. I don't think they're taken at Digbeth, however. But I was kind of like, I've always felt a bit that sometimes the festivals that we have in Birmingham can be a bit naff.
They are naff.
No, well, see, I went to the Birmingham Foodies Festival at Cannon Park, and I had a really good day, and the kids loved it. It was good fun. It was a really good little festival, and I was quite pleased. It was like awesome. And then we were guests of Will Wong from Chungying Central at the Chinese celebrations, and that was a brilliant day. Really, really good. Will was a lovely host, and the festivities were great. 30,000 people packed into the tiny area around the Arcadian and into the kind of Chinese Quarter area there. It was a massive vibe. It was really, really good. So I'm really hopeful of this. This could be brilliant.
It needs it, doesn't it? Birmingham, like you said, I've been to a few and they have been a bit naff, let's be honest here. You go to places like Shrewsbury and you have the Music and Food Festival for 2 days running, and it brings the whole town, into down into the barracks there, and it's just great. You've got music playing, you can go see all the local stall holders and everything as well, and you just think, let's bring some of that over to the West Mids. We need more of it, not just little ones. Let's have some big ones. If it's musical, bit of food, let's get it all together. Let's just have a good time and relax. A bit like the hot tubs.
Well,
and I know we're doing a B&I plug here tonight and everything, but let's do a little plug for I think it's B&M, who are, funny enough, since last week, it must have been because of our programme, they're bringing in hot tubs and they're reducing the prices.
Really? Only the $3,000 now.
I think they're a lot cheaper than that, believe it or not. I think they're the same ones that were on the that are getting done by that hot tub party. And if I remember correctly, we're not talking thousands, we're talking hundreds. Oh yeah.
Well, the thing that really impressed me about the Chinese festival was the stage, and there's a great picture here on the. Let me just call that up. Of a look of what the stage could be like. 5,000 revellers stood watching the bands playing and stuff like that. And normally when you see that kind of thing, you're thinking, yeah, okay, well, it won't be like that. But it was. The Chinese festival stage was brilliantly done. It was this is going to sound really patronising. It was a proper stage. It looked like a big event stage, it was done properly. And I think we are getting better at doing this kind of thing in the city centre. And the police are getting a bit better with the road closures, and the council's getting good with the road closures and that kind of thing. So more of it, I say.
Do you reckon it's a bit like a mini Glasgow?
Well, 5,000 people's a bit light for Glasgow.
Well, it's very mini.
Yeah, it's very mini. And it'd be interesting to see what happens with traffic in that area, because that is a well-used area of Birmingham for throughput.
Well, let me rephrase that. Is this a micro Glastonbury?
It could be, yeah. I think less people go home with E. coli from this because there's no muddy fields and that kind of stuff, isn't there? No cow
but it's good, isn't it? It's great. Again, West Midlands news, just great stuff happening. And this is what it's all about. And this is the whole point of the Birmingham Property Show. Yes, there's a property element to this, but it's also about what's going on in Birmingham and the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to hear more of, rather than me rabbit on about it. We want more people to come on, tell us what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah, no, if you've got anything to do with the property market at all, you're always welcome to come and join in on the studio or dial in on the Skype lines. We've got 5 of them available, so we can have 5 people in here talking at once, plus James. And you're also welcome to send us your event and we'll plug it on the show. So get in there. Krish, are you looking forward to a dodgy burger and bad beer or warm beer? Or are you thinking this is going to be awesome?
No, I think it'll be decent as long as it's organised well. It's a 2-day event. As long as it doesn't turn out like the Fire Festival in America. I'm not sure if you've seen the documentaries on that was released about the festival that was hyped so much, and it just fell flat on his face. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be great. 5,000 people. Like you mentioned, loads of different activities and, face painting, glitter bar, bubble machines, all that kind of stuff. So I don't think kids are allowed, but, I think it's from the evening onwards. But I think it'll be great. It's just what they need, especially around the Digbeth area. It's the right place to hold it. You've got a lot of space there. So, you may as well use it and have a 2-day festival.
As long as you have your dodgy burger on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Someone posted a video on Facebook the other week, a girl I went to school with, of the Derry End flyover, which was this. It was literally, you went at the top of Digbeth, and where the Old Crown pub is, there was a ramp that you went up, and you went over this sectional bridge that went over the top of the road that went underneath by the Renault garage. And that it was like flat pieces of steel, and you'd drive a bit and then you'd flat onto the next bit and bump and go onto the next bit. And that was a really bad area of town, and all the way down to Digbeth bus station, it was all dirty and horrible. And it's got a lot better in the last few years. Really, really good now. Much, much better than it was. And of course, they filmed Ready Player One around there. So.
Never mind that. That's where the Gadget show's filmed.
Is it?
It certainly is in the Custard Factory.
Oh,
Old Craig Charles himself there now.
cool.
And that's old Red Dwarf himself. Great show. Obviously, I think it's on Channel 5 these days now.
Cool. We hope it's good. We hope you come, and we hope we all go. We do a live broadcast from there. That'd be awesome. Birmingham Property Show live from with Dodgy Pies and warm beer.
I'm still waiting to hear about the hot tubs.
Yeah, no, they haven't come back to me. Don't think they will. If you'd like to be on the show, give us a shout at info@birminghampropertynews.com or .co.uk, sorry. And or if you'd like to come on the show, if you'd like to give us information about local events and that kind of stuff, and we'll read them out every week, then do get in touch. Where can everyone get hold of you and take of your services, please, Krish?
You can contact me on the office number, which is 0121 296 2600, or you can email me directly, which is kp@barrowsandforrester.co.uk.
Excellent. And James, where about you?
Are we finishing, are we?
I thought that was it. Have we got another story?
Yeah. We had all them questions last week that came in after the show, asking about first-time buyers, asking them for some top tips.
Oh, did we?
Yes, so I've got it all ready for tonight.
Oh, well, in that case, mate, take us through your top 10 tips.
I never said 10. Let's not go too far. They are first-time buyers. So there's only so much you can do. But look, obviously after the show the other week, we put this back on YouTube. So those who missed the live broadcast can catch us up on YouTube or on the blog birminghampropertynews.co.uk. And I got a few emails from a couple of first-time buyers just asking, what tips do we have, because they're looking to get on the market in and around Birmingham, and is there anything that I particularly think come out that can help them a little bit more? So I've put a few little things down here, and if you do want, a bit more information, you're more than happy to give me a call, come in for a coffee, and I'll sit down and try and help you as much as possible. But I thought what was interesting is the recent numbers that have come out of first-time buyers coming to the market, and it's risen in a massive way. So between 2016 to 17, the registered number of first-time buyers was 671,000 people. Which is staggering, to be honest. But from 2017 to 2018, it rose to 785,000. So it just shows you the growth of first-time buyers. And you see that with property developers and how some of them are building as well. The bigger brand names, they're very much aiming at first-time buyers, starter houses, from that as well. But look, top tip 1, it's all about the money. It's all about that. You need to save, and guess what? Save.
What percentage of deposit should first-time buyers really be looking at?
Well, it depends. You can
to get the better deals.
Well, look, you can get 100% mortgages again. There's conditions attached to it. You can get the ones where you can do 5% down, and you can get the help to buy, or you'll get a developer equity. And they'll help you out to get another 20%. But your ideal deposit, realistically, is 25%. Ideally, to get the best rates on the mortgage market. And that's something, if obviously, a first-time buyer, Tess, who we recommend strongly, can help you as well. I think if you're getting a 10%, you're going to do okay, and a 15%. But the general is, the more money you have, the better rate you're going to get. But that's the big thing. Save. I know we love to go and buy. I think I say we there. I don't. But it was. I was listening this morning to one of my favourite radio stations, and they were on about the millennial first-time buyers, and people were saying, "Well, we can't afford to buy at the moment because we're getting coffees every day. I'm buying clothes every week. I need to go on my 4 holidays a year, etc." Cut it all out. Find ways around it. Get recyclable cups. You can go into certain. I think Pret, for example, as well as many other brand names out there. I think they do a flat white for 49p if you take in your own recyclable cup. Can't complain with that, really. Do you need clothes every week? It's the little sacrifices now that will help you in the long run. So, get a goal. and stick to it as much as you possible. But that's tip number 1, is save, save, save. It leads me on really to tip number 2, is understand your budget and know what you're going to be getting, for your money before you even start your property hunt. It's one of the most important things to start looking into. You need to look at your income, any debts, deposit that you think you're going to be able to get to, and understand how much money you will be able to borrow. Sit down with somebody like Tess, go through it all, and she'll be able to let you know exactly what you'll be able to borrow and what's comfortable for you as well. Don't start looking at properties, for example, at 400,000 when realistically you're going to be comfortable spending 250, 200, even 150,000 pounds. Just make sure you're comfortable and don't overstretch yourself. And it just means that your house search is going to be a lot more realistic, and you'll get the property and it'll help you on the ladder there as well. So that's tip number 2, following on obviously from tip number 1 of save, save, save. So number 3, do your research. Can't stress it enough. A lot of first-time buyers I've seen have just jumped into it, speaking to them a couple of years, regretted their whole decision about where they've moved to. They're either struggling to sell the property, they're locked in some type of contract that they can't break, haven't understood the repayment terms if they've been on a help to buy, for example, or some sort of developer equity scheme. You must do your research as well. There's nothing worth, falling in love with a property, and it might be just out your budget altogether, or it's going to give you headaches in years to come. Number 4, it's always a big bearer. No one really likes doing all the administration, but you need to get your paperwork in order. Get it all ready. You need to have copies of your ID, utility bills with your names on and your correct names. If your ID has got your first, and you've got a middle name and your last name, you need to try and make sure your utility bills are matching up as well, because otherwise you're going to be just getting asked to get more things certified, and it's going to take longer as well. And you need to share them. You have to share them, with ourselves as an estate agent. You're going to have to share them with your lawyer that's being appointed as well. Various people. So don't be alarmed if you keep getting fed up if you get asked for it 2 or 3 times, down your process as well. And again, obviously for your mortgage application, you're going to be asked for relevant things like pay slips, etc. as well, references possibly. Again, so bank statements. Start to get it all prepared, and it'll just make the process a lot smoother. Now, number 5, which I've put in here, I think is a little bit interesting. It is something that you don't usually hear when you buy a home, but it's patience. Look, we know you're keen. You're a first-time buyer. You want to get on that ladder as quick as possible. But it's really important that you do remain patient on this. It might take you several months to find your perfect property. It won't happen overnight. Don't rush into it as well. Always get a second opinion. One thing that we do is offer second opinions. We're not bothered if you're buying through us as the estate agent, but we're more than happy to give you some advice, give you a little bit of guidance to help you along the way. It's one of the biggest financial commitments you're going to make on your journey. You need to make sure it's done right, and not to rush it is so, so important. So that's my top 5. Guess what number 6 is? Can anyone have a guess?
No idea.
Well, you've got to choose a professional agent, of course.
Oh, my life.
Of course, it's really important, isn't it? Because, look, you've got developers that you can go direct to. Now, the developer has only got one interest, and that's to sell you their product. They're not going to tell you to go and buy, developer B down the road's product. They want to sell you their product. Come and see an independent agent, like ourselves, and we're more than happy to sit down, go through everything with you as well. And, what we can do as well is help you along the way, making, realistic offers, that's going to be right as well. Looking at properties that suit your criteria and your budget. Take away a bit of the headache, for yourself, and allow the stress on us. And that's what we do. That's our job, and just keep it nice and straightforward. And as long as you keep to them top 6, there is a few more on there, but you'll have to contact me more to get the rest out of me. But there's 6 for you, and I hope it'll help you start your property journey.
And that's the last time that James lets me write the running order.
Yes. But you can reach me. So you can get me on Twitter, James R. Forrester. You can also get the company at BF Property Group on Twitter, or if you're an Instagrammer or an hashtag Insta, as my daughter keeps telling me, Barrows and Forrester.
Thanks, mate. We'll be back again next week at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, every Wednesday here from the BTN studios. See you next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.